All right, so I just got to get it on this tab.
We're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Finance Junkies. I am here today with Carlos, Vitaly, and Chris will not be making it tonight, but Steve will be here in about 10 minutes. And all three of us will be dissecting Tesla earnings. Chris is just really tired. Vitaly's got work.
I was working till 11. Chris is sick.
I think Chris is just, dude, Chris is just burning out a little bit. The guy's just tired. And it's just a Tesla episode, and he likes Tesla, but he doesn't want to talk about it for an hour. So I'm assuming he needs to get some rest, dude. That guy's tired.
And look, and be honest, I don't even want to talk about Tesla for an hour.
I don't want to talk about Tesla for an hour either. But I feel like we're gonna end up talking about Steve's like, so we're doing a 2-hour special, right? Because it's fucking Tesla. I'm like, dude, Steve, like I got shit to do at 10 o'clock.
No, we don't even have to do the full hour. Like I have it all mapped out. I have my thoughts. You give your thoughts. Steve talks about the bot. 10 minutes and we're out of here.
It's gonna end up being an hour, dude. It's gonna end up we got
right.
Tesla. It's Tesla. Jem says, why isn't it never tired? Don't worry. I'm fucking tired. I just know that when 122 people show up in 1 minute and 10 seconds, I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
It turned so wholesome. I'm very grateful. And even in the morning, dude, I'm tired in the morning, but at 8:45 a.m. when there's 300 people there, like
I always get
awake. I'm ready to go.
I get that 10 minutes before the pod when we're going to do it. I'm like, there's like a million things that I could do and I could probably skip it. Then I sign on, I see you guys' stupid faces and I'm like, all right, let's do it. It's actually fun.
Dude, getting people's attention is hyper fucking competitive. There are some people who are just complaining sometimes, like, why doesn't my stream have XYZ many views as other streams? It's like, dude, you're never going to build an audience if you're comparing your stream to someone else's stream. Like, I streamed Tesla today. We had, I'm not really a Tesla channel, but we had 850 people there. Meet Kevin's at 16,000. If I'm upset that I have 850 versus 16,000,
right,
I'm never going to be happy versus being like, holy fuck, 850 people actually kind of care about what I have to say about Tesla, and I'm not the biggest Tesla.
Right.
So to me, it's just gratitude. It is pure gratitude. That's it.
Likewise, dude. And then something always happens on the call, on the pod that I didn't expect. That was somebody says something and we talk about it, end up talking about something. Like yesterday we went all red pilled.
Dude, the red pill discussion was kind of fun. The comments people like these guys finally went there.
Yo, by the way, I made this. Check out what I made for my family today. Look at that.
What is that? Shrimp? Oh, nice. Shrimp garlic bread. What's the sauce on it? What's the sauce?
I made a shrimp scampi sauce. So that was what I do. White wine, butter, parsley, a lot of garlic, salt, pepper, cayenne pepper. It's good. It's good.
Here's a good question. We're waiting for Steve. We'll get there in a second. We'll talk about Tesla. V says, do you guys think you'll burn out from YouTube?
No.
The answer is no. Whenever people talk about burnout, dude, I have some creator friends who I've been encouraging them to not only post more on YouTube, but just post more, right? Because they're complaining. They're like, hey, Amit, I'm not making enough money. I don't have enough audience here. And I'm like, it's a very complicated business. It's a very creative business. But the one thing you can control is more output, more of a chance for feedback, etc. And these guys are like, yeah, but what if I get burnt out of posting a video every day? I'm like, you fucking ungrateful piece. Like you're like, you want people's attention. You think you're entitled for people to care about your opinions, and you're worried about getting burnt out from posting once every day. It's like, dude, then the creator lifestyle is not for you. It's a very difficult game. You have to really love it. And if you're worried about being burnt out and not getting time to relax, then you don't deserve people's attention. It's just that simple.
But Charlie and I were doing this when I would edit the videos down. We didn't even have the benefit of a live chat where you could talk to people. It was it felt a lot more like work.
Yeah.
I was sitting up late at night, editing the video at night, doing the thumbnails, compressing it, exporting, all that stuff. Now with the live thing, it's actually even easier.
No, but even think about the CNBC hosts, dude. They're there at least 35, 40 weeks a year, 5 days a week. They're up probably at 3:30 a.m. making sure they're ready to go live at 5.
Yeah.
And they don't complain because they know that's a once in a lifetime opportunity to talk for a couple of hours. And in their case, get paid millions of dollars. I think each of them makes $6-7 million each. And then they go around for the rest of their day. Then they don't really have to work. That's just you don't get those opportunities much in life. So you got to work.
The flip side is they're getting paid millions of dollars, and that's their full-time job.
Correct. This is not a full-time job. Yeah.
Right. When I'm on a project and I'm already doing 8 or 10 hours on that job with kids, with a wife, it's like, man, you got to really manage your time. Or you got to really want to do it, because something's got to give.
Yeah. And so now I'm doing this full time, but people forget in 2022, when I was just starting YouTube, I would post 4 videos a day. You can go back, you can see the receipts. 4 videos a day on Palantir, and I was driving 60 miles back and forth from Central Jersey to Northern Jersey every day for my job. It was
You didn't start your channel till 2022?
No, I started in November 2021, but like it started scaling January 2022. So even November 2021, we'll just start from there. That first video that took off, I'm like, all right, this is the opportunity, 4 videos a day. And at the time, I had a consulting firm. I still have the consulting firm, but I had a big client. I had to drive to Northern Jersey every day, 60 miles back and forth. So my day was 2 to 11 p.m. So I wasn't like a 9 to 5 guy, but it was 2 to 11. So, you know, before 2 p.m., I had to get a lot of shit done at the job. I was making thumbnails. When I got back, I was planning videos for the next day. And that grind happened, you know, until June of 2022. And you just have to do it when you see the opportunity. You just like, even today now, dude, like on Twitter, when I don't tweet for a couple of hours, I feel guilty.
You have been tweeting a lot. Like I've seen your output.
Dude, these Twitter numbers, I mean, the analytics, it's because when you see what's working and you know you can keep doing it and you can, and like even like the Meet Kevin post I did on Wednesday, on Saturday, I went to respond to all the comments. I think I responded to like 150 fucking comments from something that's 5 days old because I just didn't want to let that go. And it's like, I can't respond to everything, but like, it's just the sheer focus of like, nope, I'm going to keep building, keep trying to keep work. And you just got to do it in the early days. And I also think of Meet Kevin, dude, in those early days, that stimulus content, 5 videos a day, just unlimited amounts of work to try to get to, and then he built all that fucking audience. And now he can, you know, rest back a little bit. And even now he's not resting. He's still fucking going hard every day.
He's not.
He's got to do it.
He's not. He's up at 4:45 every day. So what are you doing at 4:45 every day? Everyone you know sleeping.
You got to do it. V says going live is one thing, but you think preparing notes for 4 to 8 hours of prep work for video. I never had to take a lot of notes for videos because I talk off the cuff and I'm just like good with talking.
Everyone's like, we noticed.
For the market open, I do have to prep. For the market open, it takes about 2.5 to 2 hours of 2 to 2.5 hours of like actually figuring out.
How long is that stream? 1 hour?
That stream's 75 minutes. 80 minutes every day.
I've been on a long time.
I realized like in November, I can't get on the market open and just bullshit. Bullshit meaning like just like, oh, look at the news articles and then talk about it. It's like, because it's just not going to work. And you really do need to read a lot of stuff before you go live. Have a cohesive understanding of it. And so that's when I really started preparing and doubling down and waking up early and, you know, doing all that stuff. All right, so let's talk about Tesla. You were at the doctor's. You were doing some stuff. You were listening to the call. You're a big Tesla shareholder. I'm a very small Tesla shareholder. What were your high-level thoughts? And then we'll go super deep, and Steve will be here in about 5 minutes. Go ahead.
High-level thoughts. The specific earnings calls are starting to matter less and less to me now as the company continues to execute. Really, the only thing that I'm looking for is to see that they're addressing affordability, because I do think that that's the thing. That would be the thing that would break my thesis. If they get their vehicles down and they're cheaper, or the next gen vehicle comes out and there's no demand, that would break my a major part of my thesis. Now, by then, we'll see what energy is doing. But for me, it wasn't a great call by any means, by any of the specific metrics. But when you read it all, and I have everything, like all the bullet points laid out, when you read it all and you consider the environment that they're working in, I actually think it was pretty good. To me, it's showing how flexible the company is and how well they respond to macro events that are out of their control, whether it be by trying to make it under their control if they can do it themselves, or figuring out what other levers they can pull to continue to meet their goals. And so, even though the metrics aren't exactly where we would want them to be, I have to say, I mean, if all things were considered equal, if they had no supply chain issues and rates were favorable to them, then would this even be a conversation? It's just funny to me how the macro pressures are not really considered. It's like, maybe it's just with Tesla. They still expect something that you said 2 years ago to be. They're still holding you to that, even if the entire macro environment has changed. That's why the specific calls are not meaning as much to me anymore. I'm just kind of see, what little tidbits we can parse out of what Elon is saying, an indication of where we're going in the future. But I don't know if anybody here was on the morning stream. I did a stream with TJ this morning. And again, it just comes down to, there was someone who was like, oh my God, in the chat, oh my God, it's going to tank today. And I'm like, unless you have the bag that you want to have, then who cares? Honestly, who cares?
Steven, these guys. What's up?
Oh, well.
How are you,
tanked the
Steven?
fucking stock. You see, you bought the stock, and then now it starts to go down.
Happy Tesla Day.
Can you sell all your shares, please?
No, I'm buying more.
Oh man,
Wow.
who is this person?
Dude, we were on the podcast in June. I remember because
Mhm.
I was in the hospital. I was live streaming from the hospital, and that's when these guys were debating you on the valuation. I remember that debate we had.
Mhm.
And now you want to buy more.
Now he's actually buying more. Like, what world are we living in right now?
All right. So there's a lot to talk about. Steve's going to be here to break it down. I guess I asked Carlos his high level thoughts. Steve, we'll get into the nitty gritty, but high level thoughts for give me 2 minutes on how you felt as a shareholder after the call.
I think the valuation is rich today. I think that it is a phenomenal opportunity for the future. And I am so bullish on the future, it's not even funny. I mean, you heard me on the phone when I called you privately. I have not been this excited in a long time.
I mean, that's a good segue. Should we go over what they said on the call?
Yeah, we should go over. You have a list.
I got it all here. I'll just break
We'll
it
go
down.
step by step. We'll go step by step and break it down. Let us know in the chat if you are buying this dip at 195 tomorrow, if it holds, or you're waiting.
180. 180.
Oh,
180. Yeah, it seems like the target's now 180.
180.
Let's say
All right.
that I'm buying tomorrow. I'm buying the whole way down. Like this is I
This
can't.
guy's too bullish, dude. This guy, who
cannot-
took
no, no,
Steve
no,
and
no.
kidnapped him?
He's building
What's
a
going
position. Though. He's
I
building.
cannot pick bottoms. Okay, I know I can't pick bottoms and I can't pick tops.
So you're a top kind of guy.
So I am going to pick the whole way down. I'm going to buy every week on the way down. All good.
Okay. Interesting.
All right.
All right. What do we talk about first?
Here we go. Elon started off the call. Record production, 1.8 million, in line with their guidance. The Q4 annualized run rate, at the rate that they were in Q4, would put them on track to do 2 million vehicles a year. They hit 560,000 vehicles out of Fremont, which makes it the highest performing plant in the U.S. right now. And he talked about a lot of the benefits that it had to the community around it. Model Y became the best-selling vehicle globally. That's not just EV. That is the best-selling vehicle globally. And he said that they delivered 1.2 million units, which is weird. And I want to see what the production numbers are because they never distinguish between Model 3 and Model Y. So I found that to be interesting. If that
Model Y did it 1.2 million. That's what they said.
Right, but what I'm saying is on the earnings report, they always lump Model 3 and Y together, so you know exactly which one contributed to what. So that was interesting. The energy delivered 15 gigawatts, up from 6 gigawatts the year before. So think about that. They more than doubled the amount of energy products that they produced and delivered. They reiterated that they believe that energy storage will outpace the growth of the car business this year. So what they're saying is the growth of the energy business should outpace the growth of the car business this year. Free cash flow is $4.3 billion, despite record amounts of capex that they deployed last year. They released FSD version 12, which they said is the only or the most advanced AI object perception, planning, and vehicle operation. So it's doing those three tasks are all being given to AI, and they removed 300,000 lines of code. They said that they believe they have the most efficient AI inference of all. And if you don't know what that means, inference is the process of using a trained model to make predictions on never before seen data. Right. So it's the models the AI's ability to predict what's going to happen without having the data to prove it or not.
Okay, so let me ask this question first, and then we'll keep going down the list, Carlos, because those are high-level metrics.
Yeah.
This was the most notable quote from the deck. In 2024, our vehicle volume growth rate may be notably lower than the growth rate achieved in 2023. They did 1.8 million in 2023. This was one that got a lot of analysts like Gene Munster. He said it was a sobering earnings call for him to finally hear a real, argument from the company that growth is going to slow down. Let's start off with you, Steve, then Carlos. Hearing that metric on the automotive business in regards to deliveries of cars, did that spook you at all as a shareholder?
Don't care one bit.
Okay, why? You're saying this too confidently. Why exactly do you not care at all?
Give them the two reasons that Elon gave for that.
Oh, I don't care. Think about what you just said. Slowing growth rate. Growth doesn't mean they're going to sell less cars. Growth rate. I am not buying this company for the car business. I am buying this company for the future businesses, and the car business is a platform to generate the capital to build these other businesses out.
So you've really convinced yourself that the car business is irrelevant, even though that's 95% of the.
No,
I am,
what Steve is saying is they're still growing. They're slowing
Yeah.
the rate that they're growing, but they're still growing.
there's still, the car business is still going to grow. It's not going to grow at a 50% CAGR anymore, but the car business is still going to grow. It's a slowing growth rate. Do I care about the car business? No, not really. The car business is an end to the means at this point, and they are truly differentiating themselves from not just being a car company. Look, this is coming from the biggest person that said they were only a car company, and right now they are still predominantly just a car company. But the Optimus bot, I do believe, is going to be bigger than the car business. I really do believe that. And the car business is generating over $10 billion of profitability on an annualized basis now. And
Yep.
even if that margin gets cut just a little bit, let's say it generates arguably 7 or 8 billion net income this year, okay? This is still a widely profitable business with better margins than the other car companies that is going to power the future businesses. And that profitability is going to allow them to build out the Optimus bot. And if these projections about having 1 billion bots by 2040 is anywhere close, you got to think Tesla's going to have a decent market share in that, because the only other player is going to be General Dynamics,
Figure.
Boston Scientific?
No, forget Boston Dynamics. Figure. Figure is the company you should be caring about. They raised 70 million. You need to look up that company in robots. It's a huge company.
I don't care. Tesla has the brand recognition. They have a cult behind them. And at a $20,000 price point, sign me up. I'll buy one the day it comes out. No problem.
Okay, so Carlos, let me point the question to you. Margins didn't beat street expectations. Looks like volume of growth is going to be down. What are your thoughts outside of the bot will be amazing on?
I'll skip to the end because they asked him about that. They asked him this question. Let me go to the end. They asked him about growth automotive margins. What do you say? Growth automotive margins for the full year. They were like, can you give us guidance on? The CFO answered, and he said, we are focused on reducing the costs of the vehicle, literally everything down to the packaging, literally the packaging of things. We are going to chase down every single penny possible. So that answer is difficult to predict. And then Elon jumped in with, we don't have a crystal ball. And that's like a cue to drink. Every time he says that at a call, you've got to drink. And then what Elon said is, if interest rates come down quickly, our gross automotive margins will be good. If not, they won't. It is all about the monthly payment. I can't stress enough that it is about the affordability. So he stressed it again. If he's saying if rates come down, then the margins will be well. If they don't go down, then it won't. That's the first piece of what's affecting the gross automotive margins. The second part is the supply chain. They're going to be closing down one of the main factories in Europe, the Berlin factory, for 3 weeks to a month due to having their suppliers not able to safely transport products that they need. So that can't be understated. I don't know how many vehicles that is. I think they're putting 4,000 or so Model Ys out a week or something like that. So
they're saving 3,000 a car. Their cost of goods went from 39,000 to 36. So he's definitely correct about like being so hyper specific about saving costs.
Yeah.
But the automotive business is growing like 6% year over year. It's 1% quarter over quarter. But it seems like you both don't give a shit about that.
No, you're saying there's a difference between revenue and
yeah, the revenue. I'm talking about the gross revenue.
Right. But the revenue is not what's important. The point is, if you look at them, because they were even talking about services that they're seeing an increase. What did he say about this? He
services is growing well, energy is growing well, but
he said something about services. He said, it was very short, but he said services are actually starting to contribute a meaningful number to the bottom line. So as they're getting these vehicles out, more of these vehicles out, they're starting to see some of that services business coming in. That's why I'm thinking they're not that they want to sell you the car at cost, but they're looking at the ways that they're going to further monetize you. And the two ways that they spoke about was supercharging and infotainment stuff.
Yeah,
so supercharging is making them money. They're starting to really make money on it, contributing to the bottom line. So
you got multiple tentacles that they can go out on from the car business, and I want to see licensing deals. So we know that their supercharger is going to be the dominant fit for most cars. So they're going to generate reoccurring revenue from charging stations across the U.S. But Elon brought up a very good point. A lot of car companies are not reaching out to them at the moment, but they probably will, because as we know, it's probably more efficient for these larger companies to utilize Tesla's FSD whenever that comes out than them building out on their own and maintaining.
Mhm.
And that could think about that reoccurring revenue. If you get Ford and GM to license your autonomous, like that could be.
But it depends on FSD happening, and that's not.
And I'm not, and look, I am not bullish on FSD generating revenue to the top and bottom line this year because it's a government thing, like we were talking about. Like for FSD to really mean something, it can be 100% developed and work great tomorrow. The question is the legality around using it. Can you lay down your car and take a nap? Until that is legal, it's not fully autonomous and you can't really use it. Like there are gray areas that need to be flushed out, but eventually that will get flushed out. And if we think that Tesla is going to be the dominant player in that, it would make sense for other companies to license it from Tesla. And then they are going to be the brain behind X amount of the vehicles driving on the road, which could be huge. Like this conference call is so bullish for so many reasons. I mean, there are so many good things that people are overlooking. I actually can't believe the stock is down. Can't believe it.
It's the focus. It's the focus on the one metric again for people that, as much as they say that they're valuing in things like the bot or energy, they're looking at it as a car company and they want to see their number, their specific number, their gross automotive margin. They want to see them at a certain value. But again, it's fine. This is why these calls are meaning less and less to me, especially when they're not going to be great based on Wall Street analysts. It just
I agree with that. These calls are starting to mean less and less and less. I mean, Elon seemed fucking bored on the call, dude. He seemed like he needed a Celsius.
it's like he's saying the same shit over
He
and
was
over.
annoyed. He wasn't erratic, but he was just a little like, he was kind of like take it or leave it. He was like, you either believe me or you don't. You're either going to give me a couple years or not. And if you don't, then kick rocks.
Yeah, but you got to remember, this is a guy who produces. This is a guy that delivers.
I wouldn't bet against him.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to not take his vision seriously. And the fact that they legitimately have a bot that can do those things at the moment, and it's only going to get better. I mean, really think about that. And really think about this, okay? New York City. How many people live in New York City? 9 or 11 million? I don't remember exactly what the number is.
22 million, actually.
No, I don't think it's. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just.
You think in Manhattan only?
Manhattan only. Yeah.
I think it's like 20-something million because Brooklyn was like 12.
Is it?
Wait, Manhattan has 20 million people in it?
Dude, it's got a lot of real estate.
Oh,
it might be a small footprint, but there's a lot
Let me
of
see.
square
Manhattan.
footage in Manhattan, bro.
No, you guys are wrong, dude.
8.8 million. It's 8.8 million.
What is it?
That's all of New York, 8.8 million.
New York City, 8.8 million, like I thought. Okay, so think about it. Think about it this way. You don't have a huge population that lives in the city that drives or has a car, okay? But the bot is applicable to almost anybody in any living situation at the right price point. And you have major metropolitan cities across the US where having a car is not necessarily needed. Living in the suburbs is a different story, but the bot is applicable to pretty much anybody at the right price point. And if you have this, and he said multiple times, not just on this call, but on other things, around 20,000 is that price point. And if you can amortize that over a 5-year period and make that a very low payment at $200 or $250 a year, or whatever it is over a 7-year period, that is something that I think a lot of people will take very seriously to gain back time in their lives to do.
Okay, let's talk about the bot then. Let's talk about the bot. So on the bot, what I heard on the earnings call is one of the VPs and Elon sitting together. They got asked the question, and the VP was like, well, the bot's not really usable yet, so it can't go into market. And Elon was like, no, it's usable for some things. And the guy was like, well, it's not that usable. And they had this like weird exchange of if it's usable or not. Now, in all reality, it's probably not usable in the mass market, but that doesn't seem like the vision you want to sell to people.
So think about it like this. Let's play both sides of it. Is it usable to do certain tasks? Yes. Is it usable to say, hey, go make me pancakes? Probably not. So for them to go mass market, it's got to be able to do everything pretty much perfectly. So they're going to need time to perfect that. But what is it worth to you if you're a family, if you don't have to cook, do the dishes, or do the laundry? Like, what is
that vision is far away, Steve. I don't think it's happening in 2025.
I think it's going to be quicker than what you think.
I think 2025, you won't have to do the laundry anymore.
He said his first batch will be delivered this year.
He said FSD would be here in 2014. I feel like you're taking them way too literally.
But admit, FSD has legal ramifications that are.
You don't think a bot in your house is legal ramifications?
I don't think that a bot's going to have that quite the legal ramifications that this is going to have with FSD. They have bots in warehouses already.
Yeah, but that's different than it being in your home making your
How is
pancakes.
that different? It's in a warehouse. It's not different.
It's a product like any other. The regulatory hurdles to having a bot in your house are not
nearly as having autonomous driving. Like the regulatory hurdles are not there. Like
I mean, I agree with you there. I just don't think like it's going to be ready to do your laundry in your house by 2025, dude.
I don't know when it is. All I know is that at some point that is going to be reality. And when that becomes reality, a lot of people, like laundry takes a good amount of time. Doing the dishes takes time. Like when you think about how much time in a week that those tasks take and however often you clean the kitchen, the bathroom, those things, people want to buy back time. Look at everything.
I enjoy doing the laundry though. I get to not think about the world and just.
Okay, but when you have a family, most people would rather spend it with their kids or other things. This is a product that can be applicable to mass market. And everybody likes buying back time. Like this has so many applications. And if Chris was here, he would hate me saying this, but it also has a defense application too. Think about it that way too. It's a deterrent for burglars to come in also when you're not home.
Well, that would probably be one of the easiest use cases. Literally, just have it be a roaming pair of eyes. That's like the first most obvious thing. Is for
100%.
But I do want to just jump in on the Optimus thing, and then I want to pivot to this video because I think this video, specifically you, Steve, you're going to get some benefit out of this.
Real quick, Steve, did you watch the Jetsons growing up?
No.
Okay, because I feel like you're living in the Jetsons fantasy of like this world where
having the robot. The thing is this: the tasks that you would want the bot to do in the home are really simple compared to what it's going to be asked to do in factories, and I think that's going to be its first use case.
Yeah. I want to buy my time back. I want to buy my family's time back. Like, I don't want my family spending time cleaning, doing dishes, that type of stuff. I want to buy my time back. And I think a lot of people are going to feel like that. If you have a pool, you don't need a pool company anymore to come freaking do your pool. Like
I tried to replace my pool guide. There's a lot of chemicals that you need to buy. It's not just cleaning the pool.
Yeah, Steve, I think you're a little too bullish on all
the yard. You could say go clean the yard and stuff. But I agree with Amber Carter, 628. It doesn't make sense for Tesla to sell the bots to retail. It makes more sense to produce the bots for enterprise level usage. I think that once the use case is proven for the bots, they will be in production constraints for 10 years. They'll never be able to make enough of these things. Meaning that by the time it gets down to like us, they make enough that everyone that wants one's got one. I don't know what we're going to be on.
Think about it. So, because before you go into that, just let me expand on that. Think about warehouses. Think about FedEx, UPS, and the United States Postal Service for a moment. Think about lifting heavy packages and loading things. Mm-hmm. This will reduce workman's comp claims. You will probably get credits toward your workman's comp policy if you're a company, if you can reduce risk mitigation factors. And look, this has huge implications because in most companies, the biggest causes for workman comp claims are slips, trips, and falls or sprains.
So you're saying Jacoby and Myers is going to go out of business.
What I'm saying is
that D Edwards real quick for the $50, €50, £50. I don't know what it is, but thank you, D Edwards. Steve, we're going to get you a Tesla T with this.
You're going to see adoption in warehouses, pretty quick robotics, whether it's a Tesla or something else, to get rid of people lifting things because it's going to reduce workman's comp claims. Like that's
all of that makes sense. I just don't think it's happening for like.
It may not happen for a couple of years. I can accumulate a freak ton of shares in the meantime, is I think the bot's going to be much bigger than cars.
The thing is, it can actually scale very quickly. And here's why. If you just look at where they are now from when they first announced it, there's been a tremendous amount of progress, of improvements, yes. A lot of progress on that front. Okay. And this is what he said on the call. New product has the potential to exceed Tesla by an order of magnitude, a chance we will be shipping some Optimus robots next year. And he said that with a tongue in cheek. I'm not guaranteeing it, but there's a chance we can ship some bots next year with the caveat that they will be able to do like actual useful things for companies. Yeah. We will be updating the public every few months. And of utmost importance is ensuring that no one can upload malware that cannot be updated unless it's from Tesla. It has the potential potential to be the most valuable product of all time, and we're focusing on utility. Utility is the key. As we improve FSD, Optimus improves. So as they improve FSD, Optimus gets better, but it's essentially a much easier problem to solve because, like Steve was saying, you don't have regulatory hurdles where it's got to stop at lights or could go and kill people. It just might, it just might put your, the milk in the dishwasher like by accident or some shit.
Okay, you want to play the video because there's a good.
Yeah, this is great. This pertains to exactly what you were talking about, Steve. Amazon or Walmart, UPS and FedEx. Some guy that I found on Twitter. You guys should follow this guy, Cernbasher @Cernbasher on X. This dude broke down the numbers of how valuable this would be to Walmart, UPS, and FedEx. The numbers are so ridiculous that I'm like, we're never going to see these bots in retail because it just would not make sense for them to sell this. And that's.
But he also is bearish on Tesla doing this, right? That's the other part.
No, no, he's bullish on it.
Oh, but do you have the other part where there's the guy who's bearish?
Well, Herbert's on it, but he's just listening. He's just saying.
Okay.
So I'm just going to play some of this.
Exactly is the potential value of Tesla's Optimus robot. So today, we're going to review the business model, the cost savings potential in a factory, and for the first time ever, we're going to show you exactly what companies.
I reached out to him, so I'm hoping to get him to come on. Not Herbert on, but Cernbasher. I reached out to him. He said he was cool, so hopefully we can find a time and bring him on. Maybe Steve.
Like Walmart, Amazon, UPS, and FedEx could save. Our guest today, Cernbasher, has been building these bot financial models and has continued to improve them. Today, he's going to share his idea of what can happen if and when humanoids start to display millions of workers. He calls his big idea Amplify as a way to save society. Cern is a chartered financial analyst. He's currently running his own investment advisory firm called Brilliant Advice, providing wealth management services.
And other big companies that employ a lot of workers, what it might mean for them. So today I'd like to explore a few ideas around that. And first of all, let's talk about Tesla. So if we go to this slide, this is a summary of Tesla's third quarter financials. The fourth quarter will be reported next week. So if we work from the left and go to the right, Tesla generates revenue from selling vehicles. And in the third quarter, 18.6 billion. The auto business, the total revenue was 19.6 billion. So there was another $500 million or so in regulatory credits and another $500 million or so in leasing revenue. So the automobile business is about a $20 billion business per quarter, or it was as of third quarter. Tesla also makes some money from energy generation and storage, and as well as services. So everything there that you see in gray and black makes up Tesla's revenue. Now, just to the right of that is the cost of revenue, the large red section. And that's the amount of money it costs Tesla to build its vehicles and provide those services that we see on the left side. Now, most of that is the cost of materials, but a good portion of it is the cost of labor to put everything together. And as you can imagine, too, to the extent that Tesla is buying parts from suppliers, there's an embedded labor cost in those items as well. So what we want to do today is explore the idea of if Tesla was able to utilize bots in their own business, what it might mean for Tesla and what it could look like. So let's just take a hypothetical example of a factory for Tesla that has 20,000 employees. I suppose you might think of this maybe as the Fremont factory or something like that. I've got three different scenarios here where workers are being paid a wage rate, an hourly wage rate ranging between 20 to 40. And it's my understanding that workers in Fremont are paid on the pay scale kind of within that range. Perhaps it's a little bit higher at the high end. Effectively, though, it costs Tesla more than $20, $30, or $40 an hour. There's benefits, there's taxes, and so on. So the effective wage rate that they pay is more like 30 to 60 an hour. Okay, and the average person then would make between 58 and 115. Sorry, not they would make that, but that's the cost of Tesla, including benefits, is $58 to $115,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And for 20,000 workers, that's between $1.1 billion and $2.3 billion a year in labor in just one factory. So I want to explore what this might look like if bots became very capable and were able to replace half of the workers in the factory. Now, this is a point in the future. I don't know how distant this point is, but bot capability is not there yet today, but at some point, it's quite likely it will be. So if you're replacing 50% of the workers, that's 10,000 people that would be replaced. But because the bot is able to work 7,000 hours a year, potentially 8,000 hours a year, I assume only 7,000 hours a year, for every 3.5 people that you replace, you only need one bot. Because if a human worker is working 2,000 hours a year, the bot's doing 7,000, so there's a 3-to-1 ratio, 3.5 to 1 ratio there. So you only need to deploy just under 3,000 bots to get the equivalent workforce of 10,000 people. Now, that results in an annual labor savings to Tesla of between $500 million to $1 billion in just this one factory example. And if the capacity of the factory, let's say, is 500,000 vehicles, then on a per car basis, you're saving between $1,000 and $2,000 per vehicle. So this is as if Tesla passed on the entire cost savings to the customer in the form of lower prices, they could reduce the vehicle price by $1,000 to $2,000 by deploying bots for half of their workforce in this one factory. Mm-hmm. Okay.
We can just talk about that for a second because then he goes into Walmart, Walmart, Amazon, FedEx, and UPS, and he starts going into like what the numbers look like.
Yeah, I mean that's a good use case to have that discussion. So do you agree with that, Steve, that if they just replace their own workforce, the automotive business would benefit when they use
Well,
the
of course,
bot.
their margins would go up because they have less payroll.
Right.
I mean, that's the number one thing. Now, here's the bear case to that. The government at some point is going to step in. Like there's no way that they're going to let this occur without putting some type of regulations in where you can only have one bot for every 3 factory workers or something like that. Otherwise, they're going to have to figure out some type of universal based income. And I mean, I think in the beginning we're going to get a massive bump, and then as this really starts to take off, I think you'll start to see some regulation around it. And we could speculate all day what that's going to look like. We're all going to be wrong, but we can't think that the government and the unions aren't going to step in, because this could replace 50% of the blue collar jobs at some point.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what do you think is the
no, that is true, and it's going to be probably the single biggest change in terms of how our entire society is run. Once these robots can come change, it's going to be a massive thing. It's going to be a massive political thing, but it's going to take a while to get there. There's going to have to be a couple of companies that get there. I mean, but even someone like, and I posted this as a joke, but like, what's his name? Bill Gates is already putting it out there that we should tax these robots. Did you see this? He's making a push that when we eventually do go autonomous, that the robots should be taxed. And they're already pushed back to it.
That means the company would pay the taxes on them, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Robots can't really pay taxes.
Yeah, and it would get redistributed to workers and stuff.
Okay, yeah, but then the counter arguments are already coming out saying, yeah, but how do you effectively tax a robot if the robot is working for a year and they're supposed to make $50,000 a year, but they're doing the work of 3.5 people, right?
Yeah,
So
look, there's a very big gray area there.
Oh yeah.
You can't let society fail because of robots taking all the jobs, but you also can't stop a company from coming up with a more efficient way to run their business. So
but he does go on later into the video to say it's not just like you're going to take 10,000 factory workers and get rid of them. Initially, Tesla would do something like for every 5 robots, there's like a robot manager that is managing that team and making sure that they're doing what they got to do. And over time, as the robots get more efficient, then maybe you go 1 person per 10, 1 person per 20. I see it a lot like daycare, right? At daycare right now, they have minimums. How many numbers of teachers can you have per number of students depending on their age? And I can see something like that. So he's like, it's not like all the jobs are going to go away. There's just going to be a new subset, a new category created where there'll be like robot overseers, essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
hold on. So Steve, let me ask you this: what is the valuation that Tesla should be valued at if you take out the bot in the pricing? Do you think it should be like, where do you see it?
Oh, we'd have to run some numbers real quick.
I mean, it's 650 billion right now. Do you think 300 billion is more reasonable if the bot is not priced in? Because
I'll run the numbers right now for you, and then I'll get back.
But are you saying that Tesla's valuation now, or are you valuing Tesla right now with including the bot? Because the bot is contributing nothing.
No. I think today Tesla's overvalued from a valuation standpoint. Okay. Because I don't know, and I will get into what I want to see out of Tesla, which I now believe Tesla could be the most valuable company in the world if they do these 3 things. But right now, I think Tesla's overvalued. In the future, I think that this could be looking like an absolute steal. And I do think that we're going to see a sell-off because people are going to go crazy about margins and everything else, rightfully so, because we don't know when the future businesses are going to mature. But let me... Carlos,
so
what's the free cash flow number for 2023?
4.3 billion. And they said that was despite record capex, and they said guidance for this year. Okay, the CFO said we had 96 billion in revenue, 4.4 free cash flow, 29 billion in cash and assets. And that includes some one-time $5.9 billion thing that I didn't hear what he said it was, but they also paid that out. But he also said next year they are guiding for $10 billion of capex. What did he say that?
CapEx.
Yeah, he said, what the fuck did he say that? He said continued capex in 2024 will be in excess of $10 billion, which is necessary for continued growth. And
what was it this year?
10 for the full year.
Yeah,
that's, I'm not sure. Let me look up what Tesla's capex was.
Steve, you're saying you want to keep buying on the way down, even if
Yeah,
you think it's
because I can't
overvalued.
predict because I can't predict the bottom, and Tesla has never traded where I think it should have traded. So I don't expect it to get to where I think it should trade at. I'm not going to give a number, but I will share my screen.
It was 7 to 9 billion, by the way.
CapEx will go up this year. Yeah.
So it's going to go up. So their free
Because they're
cash,
building factories, it's supposed to go up.
yeah, their free cash flow could decrease, but their profitability may not. You know, it's a catch-22. But here we are. I will. Do you need me to make it bigger or not?
Yeah.
Zoom in like 150%. There you
Yeah,
go.
for those of us over 45, please size that correctly.
So let's take that out real quick. So Tesla, based off of what their 2024 EPS and 2025 EPS is supposed to come in at, is trading at 53 or 54 times 2024 earnings and 40 times 2025 earnings. That's not crazy compared to where people were buying Amazon, including me. Okay, so that's not necessarily crazy. And these numbers probably didn't get updated yet because I just pulled them about 10 minutes ago.
Mhm.
And if you look at free cash flow, I mean, that's very high. I mean, they're trading at 151 times their free cash flow. So I don't like the valuation, but I'm willing to pay this valuation now because I see something that I am willing to hold for 5 or 10 years. Before, I wasn't willing to touch this with my own money. Okay. And I wasn't willing to because I didn't see how they were going to get to a point where I thought that they would really generate shareholder value in the future. I completely see it now. This is what I want to see out of Tesla. One, I want to see the fantasy about robotaxi get 86th. I want a new narrative. I want Tesla to take out Uber. I want Tesla to generate an autonomous robotaxi entity, and they have all the mileage, they have the mapping, they'll have the cars, they'll have the FSD. To think that people are going to let their personal vehicle go out and run when they're not using it. Some people will, a lot of people won't. And you have people buying Teslas specifically for that reason, if the numbers make sense where they can turn a decent profit. Who knows what those numbers are going to add up to? But Tesla is manufacturing these. So they're getting all the cars at true cost. Okay. So they can build a robo-taxi company at true cost. They already have the data. They already have the maps. They have all the infrastructure. They could take Uber out in a second. I want to see that. I want to see the bot. And then I want to see licensing with FSD. You do those three things, forget it. This thing's going to be absolutely huge in 10 years from now.
You're buying it on the assumption they take out Uber, they get a bot, and they license FSD. That is your bull case.
I'm buying it for the bot and licensing FSD in the future when that becomes applicable. I think licensing FSD is like 5 to 10 years away, by the way.
I feel like it's easier to buy it on the automotive business alone than whatever you just said. You just said a lot of shit that I don't think is happening anytime soon.
Buy Volkswagen then. Volkswagen makes more money. Buy Volkswagen.
No, but obviously, I get that. But like, there are better margins on Tesla. And I would argue it's probably going to grow faster with the adoption of EVs. But everything you're saying is a bull case. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just they're not getting, Steve, they're not killing Uber. I don't think that's happening. Like I think the network effects are pretty ingrained. They have over 400 million users. Like, it's a big assumption to say, they're going to take significant market share away from those guys.
Oh, I'm not
Unless
saying
the robotaxi works, then maybe. But
what I would like to see them do, I would like to see them create their own robotaxi network rather than relying on individuals to allow their personal vehicle to go pick people up. I would never, ever allow my personal vehicle to go pick people up. That's crazy talk. Crazy talk.
I would.
Really? You really would?
Dude, if you're making some passive income, it's not the craziest idea.
I honestly would, because my car's sitting here all day and I'm not using it, especially now with work from home. If it could go out and make me 20, 30 bucks an hour, I would absolutely do it, especially if Tesla is assuming the responsibility for.
Well, that's something else that we would need to see.
And that would be the biggest hurdle. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I do believe that Tesla will kill these companies like Uber. I do believe that these services proved that there's a market for it, but ultimately, I don't think people care about the specific company that takes them from.
I agree. I agree.
Well, it's like caring about which driver takes you from A to B. You don't care. You just want the cheapest price. And to Steve's point, and also there's hints of it in the fact that when you can't buy out Tesla leases, they take those vehicles back. And the presumption is that they're taking those, and those will be the first vehicles that's seeded along with whichever customers decide to put their vehicles on the platform and start making some money. I still believe that we're going to see at some version of this by the end of this year. Although they did say on the call today, and this was Elon said that for the next gen vehicle, they're aiming, their plan is to start building these vehicles next year in Austin at the end of 2025. Now, presumably those are those vehicles that they expect to flood the market with because they're going to be super cheap. But it still doesn't mean that they might not be able to get a version of that network up and running. But I do believe that. I do believe that that's one of those catalysts where if they come in and you actually see them disrupt another company, and Uber starts to fail as a result of Tesla just coming in so much cheaper, I think the valuation does skyrocket. When it exactly happens, it's probably somewhere within 3 years, I think.
Yeah, and go a step further. If they start getting these Optimus spots good enough in a year from now, they're going to be able to create more efficiencies internally. They're going to eventually have the sub $25,000 car on the market, which is going to hurt the other manufacturers and only increase Tesla's position. And they'll have more cars on the road that may adopt FSD at some point. And while I'm not factoring FSD in now at the moment, the $25,000 price point car is so critical. Tesla's already established a base where they can generate $10 billion in net income, and they're almost $100 billion revenue company.
No, but but Elon said that's not happening till mid 2024. I mean 2025. Maybe
it's a year away.
The vehicle.
Dude, that's more than a year away. That's
we're going to be in February next week. It's a year away.
He said late 2025 maybe, and that depends on everything executing perfectly for a $25,000 car.
Okay,
and that's just production. That's not delivery.
Okay, so that's 2 years. Great, but it doesn't stop the fact that they have so many things for the future now. And look, the bot is so big, and think about this: what's their cost on that car? At $25,000 price point, what's their cost? 17.
The better question is what's the margin on that car? I mean, that's unless the bot is actually.
Well, they're talking about that. They're saying they're going part of their next generation manufacturer. They're saying that's the real advancement there. It was one quote that he said that I think is worth.
Carlos, I got to be out in 8 minutes. You guys can go a little bit longer. So let's just finish up with this one thing. Then I'll play the video.
Just share this part of the screen because this was a comment that he made here. I want you to play this part.
They are very, very powerful because this has got me thinking, and I absolutely agree with what you're saying. So take a look at this, folks. This is what CERN says. He said that if you could buy a machine that could save you $615,000 over 10 years, what would you pay today in order to do that? This is the exact question that global manufacturing firms and big companies who employ many workers will soon have to answer. What's clear to me? Once one company begins to deploy bots in its workforce, it will force all the others to do so, or they risk becoming non-competitive as the labor cost savings potential is so great. Labor is well known to being the number one reason, like the number one expense for employers. If one company can do that cheaper, then they're going to beat you if you're competing with them. Then you say this, which I really love. The CEOs of big companies that employ a lot of workers should be calling Elon Musk now, paying Tesla a lot of money to be the first in line to receive Tesla's Optimus robot. There's going to be a line, and if you don't get your first 1,000, I don't know how long you'll wait before you get it. Just like the NVIDIA chips, you got to get there and rush. If they're not first in line, they could be waiting for years and watching as their competition deploys humanoid robots, massively undercutting them. They should view it as a call option, the survival of their business. Exactly. What happens if UPS deploys the bots before FedEx? Wow, that's wow. What happens if Walmart?
That is such an amazing point for everybody in the chat. Whoever works at a medium-sized to large-sized company, think about this. Most likely you're utilizing either Oracle, SAP, or Workday ERP. Think about what business was like pre those platforms, and think about the transformation in back office services that's occurred. I bet that your back office services has decreased in the number of people that work there. Mm-hmm. You think about the amount of efficiency that software has caused in the cloud revolution over the past 12 years or so. It has completely transformed back office services. This is going to do the same. absolutely do the same.
Absolutely. And Tesla, and the thing is, Tesla,
It's on the front line, not on the back line.
they're going to prove it in their own factory first, and then they'll be aligned. And so I think what's happening now is there is a pressure. I think Warren Redlick put it that there's like Tesla's stock is like a spring with all these things sort of weighing on it. And as the years go by, as the quarters go by, as they continue to execute, these things will be lifted and the stock will reflect its true value.
Okay, real quick, what do you think about his comments on Dojo? He said, "I don't think it's happening. It's a low probability," which was a big surprise to a lot of people.
That I didn't hear that part. I thought you were talking about the AI and 25%.
No, at the end of the pod, or at the end of the pod, the fucking earnings call, they were like, "So what's update on Jonah Anderson asked him what's the update on Dojo, and he was like, it's a low probability. It might happen, might not happen. It's very high risk, high reward, but we'll see what happens." And I've never heard him talk about Dojo like that. I've always heard of him say, "We're not going to need NVIDIA one day because of Dojo," and today he was like, "It's probably not going to happen."
I'd have to listen to the exact wording of it,
but that's exactly what he said, dude. It was pretty surprising seeing that. I don't think that matters too much, but Steve, any thoughts on that, or you don't really care?
I think it's a nothing burger. Do you really want him focusing on that or these other things? I mean, he is amazing, but he's just one person.
I get it, but Dojo matter, dude. That whole thesis was they can vertically integrate compute inside of Tesla. They don't need to keep paying billions to NVIDIA for chips. And at the end of the earnings call, he was like, maybe. But
what he's always said about that is he says he puts the NVIDIA chips as the gold standard, and he's always said the Dojo chips need to perform and be better than the NVIDIA chips. But keep in mind, NVIDIA is a company that's just working on making chips. He mentioned this when he was talking about there are companies that just make batteries, and we're trying to make batteries as good as companies that just make batteries. So I'd have to listen.
This is what he says right here. It's a long shot worth taking because the payoff is potentially very high, but it's not something that is a high probability. It's not like a sure thing at all. It's high risk, high payoff.
Dojo is working into and training up, so we're scaling it up, and we have plans for Dojo 1, 5, 2, 3, and whatnot. So it's got a great potential, but can't emphasize enough high risk.
He's being conservative. Either he's sandbagging or he's trying to get.
That's honestly what I think it is. I think I heard he was a little bit different on the call today, and I feel like he was purposefully trying to downplay, to not be the Elon, because he even made fun of himself a couple of times about how positive he can be. As I have a tendency on these calls to be overly positive, and I think even him, that's not necessarily focused on those metrics, understands that that people will take what you're saying and run with it in a way that could be negative. So you're better off not saying as much, taking the Apple approach. Like Apple did really well by never talking about their plans and just surprising you, right?
Yeah.
And maybe he's gone too far in the other direction. Maybe he learned that from Cybertruck, that it took more years to ramp, right, than he would have wanted. So I don't know. He's still saying that there's a great reward and it's worth pursuing, but he's putting the pressure on the teams to basically try to beat the best chip maker in the world. That's a tall order. They're going against NVIDIA on that front.
Let me share this from Steve. Steve, you tweeted this today. I want you to read it and get the 500 people that are.
Can you read it? Can you read it as in a female German accent? Just for fun. Read it in like a German accent.
But yeah, if people could
read it like an Italian mom.
Yeah, read it like an Italian. Read it like your mom yelling at you. Steven, after listening to the conference call, I believe that Tesla should have a shareholder meeting. Come on.
All right, let me read it normally. After listening to the Tesla conference, I believe that. By the way, hold on. The backstory on this real quick. Steven calls me an hour ago. He's like, Amit, I'm about to do a very controversial tweet.
I thought it would be controversial.
I was just like, Steven, no one gives a fuck. Tweet it, and controversy.
I'm about to break the internet.
Just tweet it. He was like, no, but I need to know. I was like, dude, just tweet whatever the fuck you want to tweet. All right. After listening to a Tesla conference call, I believe that Tesla should have a special shareholder meeting and vote on creating an Elon Musk share class. Elon made it clear that he isn't looking for monetary gains from this new share class, rather to ensure his voting percentage is equivalent to 25%. My pitch to shareholders would be to develop an Elon share class that operates on a sliding scale between the float and his common shares. The Elon share would fluctuate in voting rights, bridging the gap between Elon's actual ownership percentage and maintaining a 25% voting percentage. This would need to be a two-way street where both Elon and shareholders benefit. In return for the Elon class share, there would need to be assurances that all AI projects Elon is envisioning would need to originate through the Tesla brand. My proposal would be that Elon signs a binding agreement requiring everything AI that he wants to create from Tesla to products would be designed and brought to market through Tesla rather than going through one of his other companies. So this is your way of appeasing the shareholders that were complaining about his 25% tweet. Why do you think this is a good proposal, Steve?
Because Elon's not looking for more money. I mean, he just wants to have a seat at the table. And he made a very good point. I wanted to have this conversation with Carlos more than anybody. So I think he's going to see eye to eye with me on this. He doesn't want BlackRock and Vanguard and them teaming up with an activist to get a 51% share on the vote and get State Street involved and overthrow his plans on this.
Yeah.
He wants to have, and he's not looking for to be greedy. He's not looking for 51%. He's saying he wants a 25% share because he's the one with the vision and he's the one that is going to be bringing this to the table. And quite frankly, he deserves it. He's not looking for monetary gains. He's looking for a sizable seat at the table, which quite honestly, if you're a Tesla bull or a Tesla shareholder, he's the one that brought you to the dance. You should want him to have that 25% say. Quite honestly, BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street shouldn't even be allowed to vote those shares. And here's why. They're not their shares. They're my shares. They're your shares. Anybody who buys an index fund, those index funds are your money. That's not BlackRock's money that they bought those shares with. They're buying those shares with your money and putting
and
it.
They're voting right, and they're voting. They're voting. For
Yet they get to vote all your shares. Like that's not right.
Yeah,
they should not be allowed to vote in any boardroom except for which shares that they hold personally through the company, not with any shares from an ETF. It's ridiculous.
So how do you think this would protect? I mean, Carlos, are you a proposal of the Elon share? Do you think that would work?
Well, he said that on the call. He was like, if there was a way we could create those, but considering the way that Tesla IPO'd, he doesn't think it's possible. But he reiterated the point that he believes Tesla will create very powerful AI, and if I can be outvoted by the board, it will lead to no good because activists routinely infiltrate these organizations. And to Steve's point, since they can literally buy the votes, they can overthrow him and have Tesla use that AI for technology that's not for the greater good. And all he said is, I want to be an effective steward of this immensely powerful technology. I want strong influence, but not control if I do fucking go crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I think that there should be some way to structure that, especially if the technology is as powerful as they as they feel it is. And these are the guys that are creating the technology, so I have to take them at their word for it. I don't know that they can create those shares, but I think something along those lines is what Steve's proposing is the way to do it, to give him that 25% voting power, even if it doesn't mean he needs to have own 25% of the company. And it's also to get ahead of those companies like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard that are going to want to use that AI for their own purposes.
Steve, you should run for Congress. That's a good idea. That's a good proposal.
Listen, it's just ridiculous that funds such as BlackRock or Vanguard can vote the shares. Think about this. State Street, okay? They are the underwriters for SPY. SPY is one of the very biggest S&P 500 ETFs. We are all putting money into SPY. It's not State Street putting money into SPY. They're the ones managing it, taking the capital and distributing across the 500 largest companies. Why should they be allowed to vote those shares? It's not their money. It's our money. Like we're holding those shares in our account, yet they get to vote all the shares because they're holding them on their platform. It's ridiculous.
Dude, it gets even crazier. If you look at who owns, BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard own all of the, basically own 10%, 5 to 10% of almost every company.
Almost every company.
Right. If you look at who owns them, they all own each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like Vanguard has a massive stake in BlackRock, and if you go even all like Merrill Lynch, it's all these some guy did a video with these like infographics that show you like whether it's like SPY, all of the main companies, and then all the main hedge funds, like who owns what, and you realize that they essentially just all own each other. There's this idea of them being in competition, at least on that level, is completely a myth.
Yeah, it's just Elon's 100% correct. And look, I think everybody who's read my previous articles on Tesla knows that I was pretty bearish at one point and I went neutral and I just recently became bullish. I'm not some Elon Musk fanboy, okay? But what's fair is fair. And he has legitimate concerns about people coming in and activists coming in and destroying his vision. And look, he's the one that built this company when everybody else thought he couldn't. As a shareholder, I'm the one, I want him leading the company forward and not being stifled by other people's opinions because they create a blockade because they don't like him or they don't agree with him. Let this guy,
or he bought Twitter.
Exactly. Let this guy have a 25%, especially since we're not just producing new shares and diluting shareholders to give him more money. It's a new class share, has nothing to do with monetary value, does not change the flow of the existing shares. It's the same thing that Musk has. It's the same thing that Karp has. It's a completely different class share.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't hurt shareholders one bit. It actually protects shareholders quite a lot because it mitigates the risk of hedge funds and money managers acting against him because they don't like something he says or something.
We already got a price target lowering by Barclays, by the way. They just lowered the price target on Tesla. So
All right, so I'll see
it's
you
coming tomorrow. It's
see you
coming.
tomorrow, 175.
Good.
Coming. It is coming. It is. All right.
Thanks for hopping on, Steve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I
thanks for
can go
hopping on,
longer if you want, Carlos.
I do got a jet. I got to run to the store, but I'm going to try to get this guy Cernbash. I'm going to hit him up. I'm going to hit him up again, see if we can get him on. I think he'd be great. And you have to be on that because I think he'd be a great guy to ask these questions.
Yeah, we got to have you on that.
I mean, and if you look, I'll post the link or something. You guys got to.
Yeah, I want to look at it. I definitely like to talk to him because look, there's such big application. I don't think people really understand. And what Carlos said is very true. It's first to market with these things. It's who gets the most efficiency. If UPS and FedEx are going to be battling because of how efficient they're going to make their operations and the cost savings on payroll, everybody's going to want them from XPO to all the transport companies. You have all the railroad industries for loading and offloading. Like you got to think about the pure manufacturing and warehousing applications for this on commercial side. And then the consumer side, I mean, this has so much potential over the next 5 to 10 years that I am looking at Tesla as I want to build that position.
You were thinking of selling SLG for Tesla today.
I would consider
SLG is your baby. You love that stock.
I love, and especially today, them saying that they now have a 90%, they reported today, 90% occupancy. Oh, I thought office was dead. 90%.
You're willing to sell 90% occupancy REITs in New York that your average is like, I don't know, $19, $20, whatever, for a bot that doesn't exist yet. That you're that bullish on Tesla.
If Tesla gets to a level that I think it's a crazy, by the way, Meta was between 90 and 120, I would consider selling some of my REITs to purchase more Tesla. Like I think the Tesla is going to be screwed for a while. I do. I think it's going to be down. It's going to be sideways.
The DCA year. The DCA year.
I think this is the DCA year for Tesla. And this is all about 5 or 10 years. This is now the 5 to 10 year company. This is not, we're going to go chase NVIDIA and this is going to be a 4X in the next 2 years. This is, for me, I think that this is going to be a pretty good DCAing for the next year or so.
I agree.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Exciting. We'll talk more. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Steve, we might have you on tomorrow and just talk about the price action and see where it goes from there. And
yeah, I can do that.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Thank you all for joining on our Tesla recap. And we'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. and see what happens.
Oh, well, hold on. If only Steve loved Palantir like he loved Elon, do these people not know me or something?
Steve
really?
loves Palantir.
Like, let's put it this way. I'm never selling all my shares of Palantir. Like, I will hold shares of Palantir until the day I die. Okay? Period.
Gotta clip that. Clip it. There we go. I love it.
At some point, I will take a profit at some point, but I will never completely sell out. I'll be a Palantir shareholder the day I die because I believe in what Karp believes in. We're making sure the United States is the most powerful country in the world.
All right.
Freedom.
Freedom, baby. I love it. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.
Bye.